First of all, I want to thank Tina and Kieran for speaking very nice of me. And I also want to thank the three our speakers for giving your inspiring speeches. And our three speakers have talked about like a very broad subject today. So I'll try to ask questions referring to three different speakers and hopefully on the same issue. So I remember that Mayor Qa actually talked about home-based medicine. And in Taipei now it's 4.2 actually realized and practiced. So I want to ask for the mayor, is there any, because according to the numbers we can see that there still needs some improvements. So whether there's like incentives that the government can provide to future medical practitioners to engage more in this home-based medicine. And also I'm referring to Dr. Russell. From the point of view of like bioethics and human rights, is there anything that we can encourage more, like from this point of view, to encourage more engagement in home-based medicine? And for medical education, I think that we can all agree on medical education is the foundation of our future lives as clinicians. So I guess there's also something we can implement in our medical education to also improve the engagement. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, when I was a medical student, I was very interested in advanced technology. However, one day I became the mayor of Taipei City. I found the most difficult disease to treat is poverty. I mean, if the people are rich, they are always healthy. You can think, you can imagine, okay, if you are poor, then you will be unhappy. Okay, and then, I mean, if you are poor, okay, then you will be unhealthy, physically or psychologically. So, I don't know how to reply your question, okay? Finally, okay, we must provide what people need, not what we can provide. I mean, politics should be realized in people's daily life. Okay, anyway, okay, someday you will find the most difficult disease to treat, poverty, not disease. Believe me, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So I will comment a little bit about the aging population. It's not only the problem in Taiwan, it's a problem around the world. Speak up? Okay, oh, sorry, yeah. So, about the aging population, it's a problem around the world, it's a problem in Europe. For EIT Health, we have this special program called Healthy Aging. And we are sponsoring research in this area and also how to educate the doctors to work with this. I really liked one sentence from the mayor lecture. I mean, all the lecture was great, but when you said that sometimes they don't need CT, sometimes they need a glass of water, I think this is really the essence of understanding that sometimes people really need something totally different. My aunt, she lived 95 years, and when she was going to the doctor, in fact, she didn't go for CT. She was just going for the doctor to, I don't know, hold her hand and say just, you are right, don't worry, if you need anything, we'll help you. And she was going back home, empowered. When we ask medical students, especially in the first year, what is your specialty of the future, you usually choose more spectacular specialties. You choose surgery. But remember that I can understand it, because you have a nice, young, healthy patient with appendicitis who is dying, and then you are a surgeon, you help this person, and the next person the next day is again young, healthy, and beautiful. But the population is different. And I know it's not a difficult choice, but I extremely respect people who choose geriatrics, who choose palliative medicine, because then you really help people who need it desperately. So I know it's a difficult choice, but I hope through your studies you will have the time to reflect and also choose. It's not for everyone. It depends on your personality, but you will also choose these specialties that are extremely important for the aging population.
Well, thank you Oh, yes. Look, I think your aging population, as you just said, I come from Australia, we are having the same issue. But I think from an ethical point of view, age should not be there to discriminate, right? Because that we don't have a retirement age, because that was a discrimination. If you had, if you said someone had to stop working at this, so from an ethical perspective, it is discriminatory there. But again, from if that's what, and I think what you just spoke about home-based, it'll be. It depends on which, you know, a country like Taiwan or Australia. It is home-based. We do have that. But when I was talking of inequities, we're talking about the world where even to see a doctor or to see even a medical student might be a luxury, right? And that's the inequity. But on another point, you're all medical students, and I'm an medical educator, ethics. One of the things that has come out, and I read I'm director of the Global Biomedical Index, the international journal. One of the things that's come out, and I think you will allude to this, is that it's called the ethics of caring. And what they've shown is that medical students come to do medicine high in what is called receptivity. That is, empathy and compassion is the driver that brings you to the caring profession. And lo and behold, you come to be with this empathy, or which is called receptivity, to then take responsibility to scientifically individualized care that convert that empathy and compassion to scientific responsibility. So that fulfills receptivity and responsibility. But what the studies are showing now, when they did serial testing of medical students on empathy using the Pittsburgh empathy scale or such scales, serial testing, they've been consistently showing that somewhere around the third or fourth year, there is a significant drop in empathy and compassion. And when they finish, you get the license, the certificate to now take scientific responsibility to convert that empathy and compassion that brought you, but you go out now with science but less of empathy and compassion. That is called traumatic de-idealization in the medical educator's toolbox to look at. And you'll see, and that refers to exactly what you were talking. It's called traumatic de-idealization because it's the empathy and compassion that brought you in, and now you're trained and you go out with science but not empathy and compassion. So we've got a number of programs that are trying to foster empathy and compassion into the training process. And I think that will also be an important part in what we were just discussing, the continuity of, and it's ethical. We would say that it's unethical for us to exchange your compassion and empathy with science. It was meant the other way around, that the science should be added to that.
Can I add to this?
Yeah.
I just want to tell that empathy, it's not some concept from poetry. It's a very physiological reaction. We exactly know when we use the appropriate imaging techniques which parts of our brain gets hotter when we feel empathy. Do you know what's the region? These are mirroring neurons. We look at someone, it's like we are looking at someone who's sitting like this, and we are reflecting, when do I sit like this? Oh, when I'm in pain. So we can research it, but we hopefully said, as you said, we can develop it. Because there is even the more said research that shows they asked students to recognize which of the patients are in pain. You know, the best to recognize were the first year students. The fourth year students were just worse. The worst were doctors, unfortunately. They couldn't recognize the pain. They were just becoming too detached. And of course, there is the other aspect of this empathy. It cannot be destroying. It cannot be destructive because it can block. I know a person who graduated from medicine, didn't go to medicine because of too high levels of empathy. She just couldn't stand it. But we can balance it, and we can develop empathy during the proper education, but especially, again, as I mentioned during the previous session, via the hidden curriculum, not via lectures, but when you can observe your teachers who are empathetic, then you also develop empathy.
Empathy, compassion need. If you understand, there is something that you cannot overcome, then you have empathy. But you know, 30 years ago, I have been the director of surgical intensive care unit in International Time University Hospital for 17 years. Okay, and about 30 years ago, okay, we have ECMO. With ECMO, you can survive without heart and lung. With the TPN, you can survive without digestive system. With the hemodialysis, okay, you can survive without kidney. I mean, you can survive without kidney, heart, lung, GI tract. But then what? then who are you? Maybe I should say, then what you are? What are you? And finally, you understand that is always something that you cannot overcome. Then you can be a good doctor. There are some diseases that you cannot treat. Then you can be a good doctor. You know what I mean? Yes.
I guess this is like a significant reminder and encouragement for me, myself, and also like everybody over here to keep this essence, empathy and compassion in mind. Like even in the future when we face like difficult decisions, we still remember what we should choose in the first place when we choose to throw ourselves into this kind of careers. So I guess maybe I should read one of the questions from the sliders. Okay. So there's a lot of it, and I guess we're kind of connected that back to the our theme event, which is about technology. So I'm just gonna read any one of it. So one of it's about how would technology or artificial intelligence be used or regulated in healthcare, or try to handle the skepticism of the patients towards this kind of concept. Is that clear?
Well, it is clear. It is clear. And it's a very good question. And I don't know about any specific regulations, but we are just discussing this in medical education. So I'm aware we'll develop it pretty soon. Because patients, of course, are afraid of too much of technology and especially of artificial intelligence. They are afraid that the real doctors will be replaced by virtual doctors. And we are having sessions at AMI on this subject, so I can just invite you to join us and discuss it.
Well, I think what you said is true, but the question is, there are going to be some parts of medicine that artificial intelligence will supersede our intelligence, right? And imaging, pattern recognition in the retina is far more accurate with and that's again, we have to accept that. But again, as you said, it has to be governed, and there's the other part of it, and there's going to be a lot of medicine that will still rely on the empathy, the being there. And as you said, I want a glass of water, instead of the artificial intelligence may pick something else. So I think in due course, although people are concerned, but I've seen some reports that actually say it isn't going to be as frightening, and there will be areas that technology will be needed and will be useful to be used alongside with the humanistic part, and I think that is going to be there for a long time.
So, what I have just realized that, of course, you are right that sometimes the machines are better, and maybe you remember, I just don't remember the name of this robot, but one of our hospitals in my city, we use the surgical robot, so the doctor is not really standing at the patient, the doctor is sitting at the special desk and is just supervising the robot that's performing the surgery, because it's a very precise surgery and this robot's hand will never shake. So there is a discussion whether, because look, I can absolutely understand how much you're overwhelmed with learning. So there is a discussion whether we still should educate a doctor, require that you learn everything. If you want to become an orthopedic, I'm just giving an example. Like, there are some ophthalmologists who perform only one type of surgery. So there is a discussion if we need a doctor for this, or there may be a specific track for people who want to specialize in this, and then we should train people who want to be GPs, of course, to be the supervisor and to be this humane factor. But really, sometimes I have this doubt whether we need everything. Let's say there is a person that maybe doesn't have good social skills, but this person will be a perfect surgeon performing surgeries that the other person will not be able to perform. But it's a discussion. So as for now, we discuss it at Amy, for example. We had the discussion, but it's not that we had such a plan.
Well, the real situation is the resource is limited. That's all. The time is limited, so it's impossible for you to learn everything. The resource is limited, so you cannot treat all patients. You always need to make a decision, okay, to decide. When I was in charge ICU, in daily routine, okay, I must decide which one patient we must give up, because there are a lot of patients waiting outside to be admitted to ICU. So if if the survival possibility is low, I must tell the resident, okay, try to increase your treatment, try to lower down the intensity of treatment. So, you can understand you are limited. Yeah? You can be a good doctor. At least you can be a better doctor.
Thank you for your answers. And I guess due to time limitation, we are probably going to open to everyone. So for one question, okay, I guess Jamie over here.
Can my questions be direct to the service speakers?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Jamie from Taiwan. I'm a medical student. So my question is for Mayor Ko. That from your presentation, one of the charts shows that there will be around 20% of population over 65 years old. However, not all cities in Taiwan have good or competent home-based healthcare systems. And as you are considering for 2020 Taiwan presidential elections, and if you are running for the next Taiwan's president, would you plan to take Taipei's home-based medical service systems as the model of part of your future presidential candidature? Thank you.
Well, it's impossible for a single system to meet all situations in the world. Okay, cost efficiency. You know the limit, and you must make a reasonable decision making. That's all. Every system has its own problem, and every system has its optimal, solution. So, if you are reasonable and you are not biased by something unreasonable. I mean, you are doctor, you are scientist, and you are not a politician. Always, you can make a good decision.
I guess our time is up. Thank you for your comments. And so let's give a round of applause.